First of all, let me say, Donald Trump wants coal. And coal actually is on its way out because it's no longer economically viable. So coal is phasing itself out anyhow. But Hillary Clinton wants fracking, which is not phasing itself out. However, we are standing up to stop fracking. We have created fracking bans in so many places around the country, and we have stopped fossil fuel infrastructure in a big way. How did we do that? Not by asking pretty please on bended knee, but by standing up like the people at Standing Rock. Standing up, standing together, and not taking no for an answer. That's the courage that we need. And let's not let them pretend for a minute that Hillary is the solution to Donald. You know, in this race, we have never had, we are setting all records. You know, we got the two candidates that are the most disliked and the most untrusted candidates in history. Even Donald's supporters don't actually support Donald. The Quinnipiac poll about 2 weeks ago, if you want to look it up, showed that in fact 3/4 of Donald's supporters are not motivated by liking Donald. They're motivated by not liking Hillary Clinton. And the same is true on the other side, that 2/3 of Hillary's supporters are not motivated by liking her, but by extremely disliking Donald Trump. What's wrong with this picture? Democracy is not a question of who do we hate the most or who do we fear the most, you know? That is a race to the bottom. Democracy needs voices and values, not fear and silence. It needs a moral compass. It needs an affirmative agenda. If we silence ourselves to make room for the supposed lesser evil, you know, what do we get? We get a moral vacuum into which the corporate predators rush. Who is it that is sponsoring both of these political parties? It is the same predatory banks, the fossil fuel giants, the war profiteers, the insurance companies, the private prison industry. You know, this is not what the future looks like. They are not going to hand it to us on a silver platter. We need to stand up. We are the ones we've been waiting for. Don't let them talk to you. And I perish the thought of Donald Trump in the White House. But likewise, Hillary Clinton is not the solution. In fact, this rise of right-wing extremism, Donald Trump doesn't stand alone, you know. He's got a lot of company, both in this country and in Europe. So there's something driving this, you know, obviously. And in fact, you don't have to look too far. You can look to the policies passed by Bill Clinton and supported by Hillary to see, you know, the crux of the problem here, you know, which is essentially, it's the economic misery. Bernie himself, you know, just nailed this when he said the solution to Donald Trump, the only solution, is truly progressive, radical policies that are justice for workers, justice for people of color, justice for women, justice for the LGBT community. This is about justice for us all. What we got, what Bill Clinton brought us with Hillary's support was really the cause, in many ways, of this economic misery. And not only the economic misery, but also the crisis of police violence and mass incarceration of African Americans, as well as the harassment of immigrants. I mean, this was all there in the basic legislation promoted by the Clintons. So you had, number one, you had NAFTA, which sent our jobs overseas and put downward pressure on wages here. And you have the Democrats still leading the way now for NAFTA on steroids, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. So, you know, the Clintons aren't going to solve that one for us. The Wall Street meltdown and the loss of 9 million jobs and the theft of 5 million homes, predominantly in communities of color. That came right out of Wall Street deregulation, brought to us by Bill Clinton with the support of Hillary. We don't need more of that in the White House, nor the crime bill of the 1990s, Bill Clinton's crime bill with Hillary's support that opened the floodgates to mass incarceration and to the harassment of African Americans and the intensification of this racist war on drugs. We say it's time to end that war on drugs and to treat drug use as a health issue, not a criminal issue. And, you know, when they say to us, oh, but you can't win, you know, the answer to that is, well, how about we actually allow the American voters to be informed and empowered to make these decisions? Because the American voters are clamoring for other voices. It's 2/3 of American voters now. Actually, it's more than that. It's more than 3/4 of American voters who are saying it's time to open up the rigged debates to include all 4 candidates on the ballot. Urge you right now to please come to the next debate in St. Louis on the 9th of October. We have fought our way into statewide televised debates before. And the way we fought our way in was by bringing out a huge, loud, unstoppable mass of people demanding that we open up the barred gates to our democracy. So you have a cordial personal invitation to join me outside of the debates. We'll be holding a people's debate, and then we will be televised live, inserting our answers on some alternative media stations. So we will have that debate one way or the other, but that's still not over. And we are still fighting to open up the debate. So I encourage you, if you can make a trip to St. Louis, to please come and join us. You can go to my website, jill2016.com, and join the campaign for open debates and learn the details and find out more. But I wanted to be sure to mention that because it's not over. But, you know, on this question of them trying to brainwash us into powerlessness, the other thing that they say, you know, first they say you can't win, which is just not true. We are a voter revolt waiting to happen. They also say, well, if you win, you couldn't do anything because the Congress is locked down. Well, actually, you know, there is this thing called democracy. Right now, our Congress is getting their marching orders from the lobbyists and from the big corporate campaign donors. So what we would do if we won, number one, we turn the White House into a greenhouse, for starters. Think about that. Number two, we actually would have, for the first time ever, an organizer-in-chief in the White House. So our answer to this gridlocked zombie Congress that we have, our answer to that is actually turning out and flooding the offices of our congressional representatives. They are supposed to be representing us, not representing the lobbyists. For the first time, we would actually have an informed and an empowered electorate with an organizer-in-chief in the White House. I would be letting people know, okay, the bill to bail out the students is coming up for a vote next week. Let's all start flooding the offices of our representatives. You know, we did this before on a couple of occasions. One was the first Syria bombing campaign, you know, when they told us resistance is futile. The president was about to begin the bombing of Syria back in 2013 when the whole, you know, chemical weapons thing was an issue, before they realized, oh, yeah, we could just get rid of the chemical weapons peacefully. We don't have to drop bombs to get rid of the chemical weapons, you know, and the Russian foreign minister humiliated John Kerry, who said, well, if there was just some way we could deal with this. And the Russian foreign minister said, I know how we could deal with this. We can get rid of those chemical weapons. So at any rate, we were humiliated. But before that was discovered, we the people were flooding the offices of our elected officials, of our congressmen and women. And we forced it into Congress in the first place. And then we made it impossible for them to take a vote in Congress because it was clear that they were going to lose it. Another time we have won is when we stopped the privatization of the internet. That was also a done deal. We showed them how clear that was. So we do have the power. And as Alice Walker says, the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We have it, we're going to use it, and we got news for them. You know, we are coming, get ready. So a couple other issues that I just want to, boost your confidence. As a society, you know, it's like we sort of need political therapy. You know, we've all been so beat up and abused. So many of us have been in this abusive political relationship that people are just beginning to break up with. So, you know, we need to be armed as therapists, you know, to talk to our friends and relations who are still stuck in this abusive political relationship to help them get out of it. So, you know, one of the ways is just know that we've got the numbers. And another important thing is to know that we've got the solutions. Another one is to know the track record of the Democrats and Hillary Clinton, because that will just, you know, will wake people up right away about why they don't want to, you know, why it's really throwing away your vote to vote for more of what's throwing you under the bus, is what that is. The best thing that you can do with your vote is to invest it in the future of true deep change that we are building together. That's how you use your vote. So a couple other of the solutions that are within our reach. These aren't rocket science and they aren't unaffordable. For example, this Green New Deal, I should just mention, it turns out it not only revives the economy, it turns the tide on climate change, but it also makes the friggin' wars for oil obsolete. So right now you may know it's over half of our discretionary budget and almost half of your income tax that are paying for this bloated Department of Defense, but it's not a Department of Defense, it's a Department of Offense. So we need to create a true Department of Defense, which means we can put hundreds of billions of dollars back into our real economy here in things like the Green New Deal. But it also pays for itself, even if you forget the military dollars. It pays for itself in health benefits alone. They kind of keep this a well-guarded secret, but it turns out we get so much healthier by phasing out fossil fuels. We save enough money right there to pay back the cost of the Green New Deal within about a decade and a half. So it pays for itself. It's a win-win-win. What else pays for itself? Healthcare as a human right for everyone. Medicare for all. That pays for itself. We know that education pays for itself, and it's time to invest in public education like it counts. That means small classroom size. That means well-paid teachers who are respected, whose unions are honored. It means ending high-stakes testing, which is part of the school-to-prison pipeline. It means ending the closing, the targeting of schools in communities of color, shutting them down essentially because they are poor and cannot perform well on this high-stakes test, which is an index of poverty, is what it measures. We don't need a high-stakes test to measure poverty, so we call for an end to these school closures, privatization, and charterization, which is a giveaway to the private charter industry and an absolute assault on public education. We also call for an end to the violence of police against communities of color. It's not rocket science how to fix this. Every community deserves a civilian review board and an independent investigator so that communities control their police, not have police control their communities. We deserve a welcoming path to citizenship for the immigrants who have always been at the core of our economy, our communities, and our culture. And to end this crisis of immigration, the most powerful thing we can do is to stop causing it in the first place through NAFTA, through the war on drugs, and by overturning other governments, and especially through destabilizing democracies in Latin America, which is what has been generating this recent wave of migration. Coming from where? Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, 3 democracies that we helped overturn, creating the violence, creating the refugees. And one thing people have learned in this election is that the Republicans are the party of hate and fear, but the Democrats are the party of detention, deportation, and night raids, and the imprisonment of children and families who have fled here from unjust policies that we have inflicted on other countries. So we can fix that. And finally, it's time for a foreign policy based on international law, human rights, and diplomacy, not based on military and economic domination.